Hello mortals, I am the goddess who created the text world of Listernia, and today I'm going to do a TBR for August. Now I am not doing any challenges. The Book Junkie Trials was the first time I ever planned out what to read in a month, because I don't usually even think about what books I'm reading in a month period. I've never bothered tracking it. I don't even have TBRs. I buy a book, I read it, then I look for the next book to read. If the book I just finished was in a series, obviously I just get the next book in the series. Or maybe it's an author I like, so I'll see if there's something else that author has written. But I'm just not used to TBRs, and I'm not used to monthly reading. But the Book Junkie Trials really tested me, and it was really hard for me to finish 5 books in a month, and I didn't think it would be. And one of those books was DNF'd. And another book was a book of poetry, which was really a quick read. So I'm shook. I thought I average a book a week, but I guess I've never really tried tracking or testing how I read. But I almost failed the Book Junkie Trials. But I didn't, bitch. So in August I wanted to do a TBR, but I wanted to make it easy on myself. I'm not joining any of crazy challenges, although I've seen a few out there. I just want to pick 3 books that I plan on reading for August. 2 of the books are completely BookTuber recommended. But the first book is a no-brainer because I had pre-ordered it anyway. It is the new book by Pierce Brown in his Red Rising universe. If you don't know what the series is about, the first Red Rising trilogy, it's a separate trilogy, just the first 3 books. It's a story about in the far future, society has stratified into a hierarchical society where the hierarchy is reinforced by genetic engineering, and each level is color-coded. So for example, the pinks are genetically engineered to be hypersexual and beautiful, and they are the prostitutes or the pleasure artists. And they're also, it's a very strong Greek influence underpinning the entire society. So there are lots of names like Titus or Augustus. Anyway, the highest level of the society are the golds, who are beautiful, godlike humans. And the lowest level are the reds, who are the workers and who do dangerous grunt work. As you can probably guess, Red Rising, the first trilogy anyway, is about a revolution by a guy named Darrow, who was born as a red in a Martian mining colony. And personally, I really enjoyed that first trilogy, the first 3 books. And I might even argue that he should have ended the series there, Pierce Brown.
Say what?
And I have my suspicions that Red Rising was never meant to be more than a trilogy. So when the next book was released, it was the start of a new trilogy. And the new trilogy is called the Iron Gold Trilogy. So did someone convince the author to do another trilogy because the first trilogy was successful? I don't know. So the 4th book, called Iron Gold, picks up a decade after the last book in the trilogy, after the revolution. I hope that's not a spoiler, but there's a revolution in the first trilogy. And it's a new storyline, but it's not like The Expanse, where it seems like everything was plotted out. I'm kind of curious about where the new trilogy is going, but I'm really not as invested as when I started reading the first trilogy, the Red Rising trilogy. Red Rising, I couldn't wait for the next book in that trilogy. But this one, I'm just sort of, I'm curious, but I wonder if I'm the only one that feels that way. If you're a Red Rising fan, let me know in the comments what you think of the 4th book and the 5th book if you're going to read that one. Now, the second book in my TBR for August is recommended by the queen of the book junkie trials, Rachel Marie. And I actually just found her because of the book junkie trials. So I've been watching a lot of her videos, and she recommends this book quite a lot. Rachel Marie, I think, is actually obsessed with this book.
Last week, I started reading Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. This damn book. I am in love with this book. What was the best book so far that you've read in 2019? And it comes as no surprise, that is Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. It gives me all the fucking pleasure in the world to tell you that the favourite book that I've read this month and this year is Middle Game.
It's called Middle Game by Shannon Maguire. Now, I've never heard of this writer, but I looked her up and she's won a Hugo and a Nebula Award. I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't know who this author is, but I'm quite excited to read this book. And actually, I've already started it. I'm about 10% into the book. The writing is very clean prose and the story is interesting. I think it's meant to be a modern horror or magical realism. I think it's a horror novel. I haven't quite figured it out. I've tried not to look too much up about this book. But in this world, alchemy is not a pseudoscience, but a powerful force that combines magic and science and can shape or reshape reality, even creating life. So there's a hint of Frankenstein, there's a hint of Lovecraft. The story itself is about twins, a boy and a girl, who have been created through alchemy to have some type of supernatural power. But they've been separated at birth so their powers don't get out of control or something. I've just started the book and I don't want to do any spoilers. But I do have one little quibble so far. Again, I've just started the book, but I think the author has one fact wrong, and that is she presents the little girl who is a mathematical genius as being really out of place when she's 7 or 9 years old, because it's presented that boys are usually more mathematically gifted than girls are. Now, this is true. This is a true fact after puberty. But interestingly enough, before puberty, when children are 7 and 9 years old, there is no difference in mathematics and language. They're about the same between boys and girls. There's some interesting theories in sociobiology why girls suddenly aren't as interested in math on average as boys are after puberty. But again, before then, not so much. Anyway, it's a very small quibble. And so far I am enjoying Middlemarch and I can't wait to complete it. Now the final book in my August TBR is I'm really excited about because I think the premise sounds fascinating and a lot of booktubers have been raving about SCYTHE by Neal Shusterman. And that's another author that I've never read before. From what I can tell, this is a dystopian novel about a society where nobody dies, but in order to keep the population in check, or as a method of population control, there's a group of people called SCYTHE, the Reapers, who harvest those who have been deemed that they need to die. Again, I've been trying to stay away from spoilers, but this is a very conceptual premise that reminds me a bit about Logan's Run.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer presents the Saul David production of Logan's Run. A fantastic journey through a world beyond imagination. Welcome to the 23rd century. The perfect world of total pleasure. Imagine a world in which you need never be alone. You touch a switch, turn a dial, and the perfect lover steps into your arms. Every pleasure is yours to experience.
Runner! There's just one catch.
If you haven't seen or read Logan's Run, it's about a society where nobody is allowed to age past 30. And any who do reach 30 and do not voluntarily go to Carousel, where they die, or where they ascend, there's a group of people called the Sandmen who hunt them down and kill them. Anyway, I'm really excited to read this novel. And it's part of a series, so if I go through all 3 of these books and I still have time this month, I'll go ahead and move to the second book, my bonus book, Thunderhead, which is the sequel. And this is apparently a trilogy, and the 3rd book is going to be published sometime this year. So that's my TBR for August. Please don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, and may all the books you read be blessed.